Some of you watching this right now are trying to be a different kind of parent than the ones who actually raised you. Let me guess, you're trying to be more patient, more present, more emotionally aware. You're trying to break cycles of yelling, cycles of emotional distance, cycles of pain you said would stop with you. But if you're being honest, this process is exhausting you though, because the very thing you're trying to break still lives inside of you. Dear parent, let's talk about that. You see, breaking generational patterns. Man, what does that even mean? It means you are actively choosing to parent differently than what you experience. So if you grew up around yelling, you're trying to be calm all the time. If you grew up around emotional distance, you're trying to be present with your kids most of the time. If you grew up misunderstood, you're trying to understand. It means you're interrupting patterns that were normalized for you, even when they didn't feel right. And I can say from the outside, that sounds powerful. Doesn't that sound like healing and growth? But what nobody tells us parents is this: it is one of the most emotionally demanding things you will ever do. Because you're not just parenting your child, you're also confronting your past in real time. Have you ever thought about that? Let's talk. There are moments as a parent when something your child doesn't just frustrate you, right? Think about it. It activates something deeper. And here's how you know, okay? The reaction doesn't match the moment. So your child does something small, but your internal response feels pretty big. That's when your chest tightens, your heart starts beating faster, your tone shifts before you can even think. Man, you feel a surge of irritation or anger that just feels so disproportionate. And if you slow down in that moment, you realize, this isn't just about your child, right? It's about what that moment represents. Heck, what it reminds you of: how you were spoken to, how you were dismissed, how you felt unseen or unheard growing up. And so now you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to respond the way I was responded to. Or what about, why does this feel bigger than what's actually happening right now? Why is this hard for me right now? And yet, dear parent, you can feel it in your body before you can control it. That's very, very difficult. So let's break this down so you have a better sense of what's going on. So you are parenting on two timelines at once, okay? Timeline one, that's the present moment with your child. Timeline two, your past, still living inside of you, all right? And so the question here is, what does it mean for us as parents when those two timelines collide? It means something happening right now activates something from then. And so your brain and your body, they don't register, oh, this is my child that's talking back to me. What it registers is, this feels familiar and unresolved. And when that happens, dear parent, your tone shifts faster, your patience drops quicker, your emotional response intensifies, right? And let's be real, it's not because you're failing. Come on now, it's not that. But it's because something old is getting activated. And here's the hardest part, y'all. You're trying to respond differently while feeling something you've never fully processed. Think about that. I know it's a lot. Sit with it. And so now you're in this position where you're trying to give your child something. Come on now. You didn't consistently receive. While you're managing these emotions, you were never taught how to regulate. Come on, be honest. And you're still trying to show up as that what? A good parent. Let that sit. Because that's not just hard, y'all. That shit is heavy. Man, that's like waking up every day trying to do better while carrying things you never got a chance to heal. That's like trying to stay calm. Man, when calm was never consistently modeled for you growing up. That's trying to be emotionally available while still learning what that even looks like. Man, that's not just parenting. Dear parent, that's emotional labor at the deepest level. I will name it for you today. It's okay. See, you're not failing at breaking cycles. You're in the middle of it. And breaking cycles don't feel like progress at first. I know. Doesn't it feel like pressure? It is pressure. It's okay. So let me give you something most parents need to hear. I say this to my clients all the time. You see, struggling while trying to do better, man, that is part of doing better. And this matters because parents believe usually that if I'm struggling, I must be doing it wrong. But the truth is, dear parent, man, the struggle is the process. Because think about it, you're unlearning old patterns, building new ones, and trying to apply them in real time. That shit's not gonna be smooth. It's gonna be super messy. And messy doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're putting in that work. I always want you to remember that. And so from now on, I need you to ask yourself, don't ask yourself like, whoa, why is this still happening to me? I hear that all the time from my clients. I want you to ask yourself, what is this moment trying to show me about myself? Okay? Because every trigger is probably pointing to something that needs attention from you, not suppression. And look, here's why I don't want people suppressing this stuff. You see, when you suppress something, it doesn't disappear. It stores. Okay? It stores in your body, in your reaction, in your nervous system. And eventually, it comes out sideways through tone, through frustration, through disconnection. And so always remember, the goal isn't to suppress these moments. It's to understand it. So if this journey feels heavier than you expected, if you feel like you're trying to hold it all together while rewriting everything you were taught growing up, take a breath. Because you're not just raising your child, dear parent. Man, you're raising yourself in the process. And that right there will always be hard. But it is also what changes everything. All right? And before you go, if you've ever felt this tension between who you're trying to be and what still lives inside of you, I do want to hear from you. Please drop a comment. Where do you feel that struggle the most as a parent? Like this video so another parent who's putting in this work can find it. Subscribe to Dear Parent, because this is where we keep having these conversations, and turn on those notifications, because the next message might be the one that helps you understand yourself on a deeper level. Breaking generational patterns are always going to be difficult, folks. Okay. There's a couple of reasons why that's the case that I always share with my clients that I definitely want to leave with you before we go. One, parenting is an ongoing journey, right? I say that to say there are folks who I've met who are much, much older than me, and they always like to remind me that the parenting journey never stops. They always say you're always going to be a parent. No matter how old your kids get, you're always going to be a parent. And so that always helped me to remember, like, man, these patterns that we grew up with, that we know we're struggling with and continue to struggle with, we're going to have to keep battling that. And that really, really woke me up. And so I want to really share that, because if parenting is an ongoing journey, that means that we're going to have to keep confronting the things that we struggled with, the things that are unresolved still. And so that's why I don't want folks running away, suppressing. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult, but definitely don't do it. The other thing that comes up, and, I say this with a little jest in mind, is that it's one of the reasons why the holidays are very difficult, right? Dr. John's going to name it. Think about it. The holidays are difficult. Yeah, they're stressful and they're all kinds of things, but there's always a lot of tension with our families, right? There's a lot of anxiety that's there. And a lot of that probably has to do with some of those generational patterns. And it probably has to do with a lot of unresolved issues. And when everyone gets together, it can be very, very difficult. And so for us as parents, think about how hard it is. You're taking your own family that you created, you're taking your kids, and you're bringing them back to be exposed to the same environment that you grew up with. Now, ideally, we would hope that those patterns either subsided, they went away, they got resolved. But for the most part, let's be honest, they probably haven't. We probably have family members and loved ones from our family of origin who are still stuck. And that means that it ends up being very unhealthy and very difficult. And so I always like to remind my clients, like, yeah, just know the holidays are difficult. And that's one of the main reasons why, is because those patterns that you're trying to break from, those patterns that like stick in your mind every day as you confront them with your children, those are the ones that are still there. And so it's important to know that breaking generational cycles is always going to be an ongoing thing. I just don't want you to go through it by yourself. This is why I created the channel. Dear parent, you don't have to be by yourself. You're a human being and you can heal. I'll see you in the next message.